Hi there, it's Cameron, and I want to talk to you today about something very important, and that is the issue of unpaid internships. Now, we all know that paid internships lead to more success. In fact, paid internships lead to higher starting salaries and more chances of students getting hired on full-time somewhere. But unpaid internships are still a thing, and we don't necessarily discourage it because that's a lot of the times the only option students have to even get their foot in the door somewhere. So I'm really proud of our university for creating what's called the Step Up Funding Program. And this allows students, especially if they find an internship with a nonprofit or a startup business that just doesn't have the means to pay an intern, but it's an awesome opportunity, it's a foot in the door. This program gives up to $13 an hour funding support for these students to be able to do this internship. And the goal is that it would transition into a fully funded internship, or in most cases, especially with seniors, transition to a full-time job. Previously on this podcast, we did an episode where I actually interviewed Katie Abbey, who is Vice President and Director of the U Career Success Center, about this subject and why paid internships matter and why they yield so much more success. So we're asking your help in this funding cause. If you can donate anything, $5, $10 to the Step Up funds, you can help us so much by being able to increase our funding, which goes to support students at the University of Utah for their internships. So I'd like to introduce Sean, who's director of the Step Up program. And Sean is going to talk to you about its impact, what Step Up is, so you can see just how much it helps our students.
Step Up, for those of you that don't know, is a program that is geared toward the unpaid internships. So students who are working in any field are able to apply to this program. And if their application is approved, we pay them, which is a fantastic resource. We're trying to get additional funds, but as it is right now, I can pay students $13 an hour for up to 19 hours a week. And the impact of Step Up is profound. A lot of these students kind of come in as freshmen or sophomores, but that's not solely who we're looking for. Students come from diverse backgrounds, a lot of international students who are working in fine arts or in the College of Social and Behavioral Sciences, who really need these opportunities. And unfortunately for them are really geared toward or moving or leaning toward spaces that happen to have unpaid internships. So working with these students to get them into those spaces, but then also pay them, obviously has an impact on them economically. As far as the long-term impacts, students in these roles are immediately connected to a larger environment, whether it's their immediate community or just, some entities that are on the university campus, but they gain both soft and hard technical skills. One of the great things that we've seen as a product of this is that a student moves into a space as an unpaid intern, but the level of work that they produce is far exceeding what their employer expected. And the end result is that the employer asks the employee to stay on in a paid internship position, sometimes a part-time job. Sometimes for our seniors, this becomes like their first career trajectory. And that is, again, some of the impact that we see from Step Up is that the employers see how great these students are and what kind of skills they're bringing to the workforce and want to retain that level of work. So one of the things that we're trying to do with this program is to seek new students and find new opportunities, but also increase the funds to be able to have a greater impact and a greater reach. And that might mean paying students more. It also might mean just accepting more students into the program on an annual basis.
So many of our students have done awesome things with internships, especially when they are paid. So I want to have you hear from Marlie, one of our interns who's had multiple internships, paid internships, and how it has impacted her overall growth and success.
Hi, I'm Marlie Hansen. I'm a third-year student at the U. I'm studying communications and economics. So my first real-world work experience was at Penna Powers, which is an advertising agency in Salt Lake City. With them, I worked as a content and social media intern, and this seriously was my first exposure to working in the industry. So I kind of went from, I'd done some stuff in classes, I had done things on campus, and this was my first step into seeing what agency life was like. So I kind of started out with like writing scripts, doing some social media work, which kind of quickly evolved into doing like shooting videos, which I was a part of a 52 video long series for Zero Fatalities, which was really cool. Like I got to like work with a real client and do really important work about like transportation safety. Some examples of people I worked with were like Guiding Our Growth, which was a Governor Cox campaign, TravelWise, which is all about saving like emissions from going into the air and just traveling in a smarter way. Safe Routes, which is about kind of making sure kids are traveling to school safely. And then Zero Fatalities was my big one. Like I worked on a lot of stuff for them, so it's really been cool for my portfolio to like look back and be like, yeah, I did that. So as a first generation student, I'm actually paying for like all of my own college, all my own living expenses, you know, everything that comes with that. So being paid in internships has been incredibly important to me to be able to even go to school here. So it's been really great to kind of see that my work is valued by these different companies that I've worked with. Just being able to pay rent and being able to pay for tuition, like all the things you need, like it's really been important to me to like fund my education that way.
If you want to learn more about the impact of the Step Up funds, the Hey You podcast does a series called Step Up Series, where you can learn what our interns have been up to in their internship that was supported by Step Up. Every donation you make makes a huge difference on the lives of our students. The link is in the description below or in the bio if you're viewing this on social media. So please consider donating if you can. Thank you.